Hello, students. Students, in this particular session, we are starting with a new chapter of your biology syllabus, that is chapter number 10th, and the name of the chapter is Human Health and Diseases. So, starting with this chapter, health, it does not simply mean absence of disease. Okay, or you just cannot say that a person, if he or she is physically fit, the person is healthy. Now, according to WHO, that is World Health Organization, they have defined health as the state of being complete physical, mental, and social well being, and it is just not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So, health, it is considered to be the birthright of humans. And why is it called the birthright of humans? Because it actually reflects the metabolic and functional efficiency of any living organism. Now, for a good health, that is a complete physical, mental, and social well being, hygiene is the rule of health. And hygiene is said to be the first and the most important rule for good health. And to achieve this good health, it is therefore very necessary that we have a good hygienic balanced diet, we have clean drinking water, personal and community hygiene is required, and there has to be regular physical exercise. Now, other than this, there has to be good knowledge about diseases and their effect on the body. Then there has to be proper disposal of waste and there has to be control of vectors. Now, students, every day our body is exposed to various foreign bodies or various foreign particles that are invading our body. And these foreign bodies or the foreign particles, they include infectious agents like bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens. Now, despite of constant exposure to various types of pathogens, most of us remain healthy. This is due to the fact that the human body has the ability to resist almost all the types of foreign bodies, or you can say all the types of invading microorganisms. And the system that protects us from various type of these infectious agents or foreign agents is called the immune system. So, immune system in our body has the ability to resist all the types of foreign bodies. On the other hand, resistance is the ability to prevent the damage or disease through a defense mechanism. So here the immune system in our body becomes the defense mechanism. Now let us study further about this immune system. For that, let us understand what is immunity. The term immunity, it has a traditional reference. So traditionally, immunity is referred to as a resistance that is exhibited by the host towards certain injury which is caused by pathogen or their product. Now, this injury can be internal injury, that is inside your body, or it can be external injury. Okay, and the host is the human body, or you can, in that case, you can take it as any living organism's body. Now, this concept of immunity, this is believed to be stated by a scientist whose name was Edward Jenner in England. Now, Edward Jenner, he actually developed a cowpox vaccine which was used for the protection against the attack of smallpox. Now, smallpox, we very well know it is a viral disease. So, Edward Jenner, he actually developed a vaccine from cowpox vaccine mainly, and this was used to protect against the attack of smallpox. Here in this picture, you can very well see that Edward Jenner, he is vaccinating this small boy. So probably he is vaccinating the small boy with the smallpox vaccine. Now there is one more term that we need to understand related to immunity, and that is immunology. So immunology, it is a branch of science which deals with the study of immune system. It also deals with the immune response to foreign substances, and their role in resisting infections by pathogens. So once again, what is immunology? It is a branch of science and it deals with three main things. It deals with the study of immune system. It deals with the immune response that is given by our body to the foreign substances that are invading our body. And it also deals with their role in resisting infections by pathogens. Let us understand more about immunity by studying the characteristic of the immune system. Now, the main and the only characteristic of the immune system is that it can differentiate between self and non-self. Now, what is self and non-self? Self is our own body cells, okay? Our own body cells which are not harming our body in any sense. And non-self are the foreign molecules or the invading cells that are entering our body. And these foreign substances that are invading our body, they have the capability to stimulate an immune response. Okay, so the foreign substances that are invading our body and having a capability to stimulate any kind of immune response, these foreign substances or the foreign bodies are known as antigens. And to encounter these antigens, our body or the immune system in our body, it develops or it produces certain protective chemicals. Okay, so the protective chemicals which are produced by the immune cells in our body in response to these antigens is called as antibodies. So students, when we are understanding and when we are learning about the immune system in this chapter, these are the two main things that we really need to keep in our mind, is what is antigen and what is antibodies. Antigen is the foreign substances or the invading microorganisms into our body. And to encounter these foreign substances, the chemicals that is produced by our body are known as antibodies. Now let us study about the types of immunity. So there are two main types of immunity. The first one is innate immunity and the second one is acquired immunity. Innate immunity is the inborn immunity that is inherited to us. And acquired immunity is the adaptive immunity that a human being or any living organism adapts during a lifetime. Okay, we'll understand this in detail in the next slide. So let us study about innate and acquired immunity in detail. So let us see the basic difference or basic comparison between innate immunity or inborn immunity and acquired immunity or adaptive immunity. Innate immunity, it is a resistance to infections that an individual possesses by the virtue of his or her genetic makeup. So as I previously told you all that innate immunity, it is inherited. Now when we say inherited, that means it is by the virtue of a individual's genetic makeup. Okay, so this immunity, it is a resistance to infection that an individual possesses on the basis of their genetic makeup. On the other hand, the acquired immunity or the adaptive immunity, this is a resistance to infections that an individual acquires during a lifetime. Okay, so this is one basic difference between innate immunity and acquired immunity. Now, innate immunity or the inborn immunity, it is a natural inborn defense mechanism of the body. Okay, and this does not require any prior contact with any kind of microorganism, any kind of foreign substances or any kind of other pathogens. Or in that case, it does not even require prior contact with immunization. Okay, whereas acquired immunity, it is adaptive. That means it requires a prior contact with a certain microorganism, and after the prior contact, it will develop an immune response to that particular microorganism. And that is how acquired immunity or the adaptive immunity is also called as specific immunity, because it develops an immune response to that particular microorganism after it comes in first contact with it. Okay, so after the first encounter, it will develop this immune response to that particular specific pathogen. Whereas if we speak about innate immunity, it can be both. It can be non-specific, it can be specific. When we say it is non-specific, it is fighting against general infection. Okay, and in other case it can be specific as well, and when we say that it is specific, at that case a particular pathogen is concerned. So when it is fighting against a particular pathogen, it becomes specific, and when it is fighting against any general infection, it becomes non-specific. So students, these are the basic difference between innate immunity and acquired immunity. Next, let us see about the innate immunity in further detail. So innate immunity, they comprise of various types of barriers which prevent the entry of these foreign agents into the body. Now let us understand about these barriers now. So we'll study various types of barriers which are found in living organisms' body, and these barriers are inborn. Okay, they are not acquired, they are not adaptive, they are inborn, which the human or any kind of living organism inherits. So the first barrier is epithelial surface. So our body, it has many types of epithelial surface in the body, like you can say the intact skin or mucus covering the body, or certain other things. We'll be studying about those. So these epithelial surface in our body, they protect our body considerably against these invading microorganisms. The first epithelial surface is the skin. Now skin has a presence of salt concentration after the sweat dries up. So we know that we sweat, and when we sweat, the sweat is slightly salty. Okay, now after the sweat dries up on the surface of the skin, there is this salt deposition on the skin, and this salt concentration which remains on the surface of the skin, it possesses certain bactericidal activity. So again, skin is an epithelial surface which is acting as a barrier. Why? Because it is having certain bactericidal activity. I mean, the sweat which the skin possesses is having certain bactericidal activity. Other than this, the skin also shows the presence of sebaceous secretion. So there are certain oil ducts or glands which are present in the hair follicle. You can very well see in the picture over here. These are the hair follicles and these are the sweat glands. So these oil ducts or the follicles, they secrete certain kinds of fatty acid and sebaceous secretions. And these sebaceous secretions, like fatty acids, they have bactericidal properties as well. In fact, they have both bactericidal as well as fungicidal properties. So this was about the skin, the first epithelial surface. Other than this, there is mucosa in the respiratory tract. Okay, so the mucosa in the respiratory tract, they have several innate mechanism for defense. So the inhaled particle, now when we inhale the particles through our nose, these inhaled particles with the air, they get arrested with the hair or in the hair that is in and around the nasal chamber. Okay, so this acts as the first barrier. The hair which is present in our nasal chamber, this acts as a first barrier because it arrested the unwanted particles that enters with the air. And those particles that are passed beyond this hair layer, okay, these are held by the mucous lining, the epithelium. So the epithelium is having a mucous lining in the nasal chamber. Okay, so the particles which are passed beyond the hair layer, they are arrested into this mucous lining, or they are held by this mucous lining. and then they are sent to a region which is known as pharynx. So in this picture, if you see, the mucus is getting collected into this pharynx area. Now after it gets collected into the pharynx area, they are either tend to be swallowed or they are coughed out. Okay, so in any case they are getting out of our body. So students, this is the second barrier. The first one was the skin, the second one was the mucus lining into the respiratory tract. Let us see about the next barrier. The next barrier is in our mouth, and the barrier is the saliva. So there is constant saliva secretion that is taking place in our mouth, and this constant saliva secretion has inhibitory effect. So it has inhibitory effect towards the microorganism. So this becomes a barrier again. The next one is in our stomach. So we all know that we have acidic substance in our stomach. The HCl or the gastric secretion is acidic, and this acidic secretion or the acidity of the gastric secretion destroys the microorganism. So even if when you eat the food, okay, which are having certain microorganism, even if that food is not killed, or it is not been destroyed by the saliva in your mouth, if it goes beyond and it enters your stomach, the stomach has certain gastric secretion which is acidic, and that will destroy the microorganism. Now other than the stomach, there is the defense mechanism is also present in the urethra. Okay, now the flushing action of urine, when the urine is passed, it is passed with a flushing action. Okay, so the flushing action of urine eliminates bacteria from the urethra. So this is again a defense mechanism or a barrier against microorganism. So the urine will eliminate all the bacteria. Other than this, the spermin or zinc which is present in the semen, okay, this also has antibacterial properties. So again, the spermin or the zinc, it also acts as antibacterial. Now this was about the first barrier, that is the epithelial surface. So there are certain epithelial surface in our body that we have studied. The next one is the cellular factors in innate immunity. Now, natural defense against the invasion of blood and tissues by microorganisms and other foreign particles, it is mediated by large extent of special cells. And these special cells are known as phagocytic cells. Now, what is the function of these phagocytic cells? The phagocytic cells, they will ingest and destroy the microorganism. So if you see in this picture, the blue color cell, this is a phagocytic cell which is ingesting this virus, and in the next stage, if you see, it has completely ingested the virus and it has absorbed the virus. So it is ingesting the virus as well as it is destroying the virus. So this is what is done by the phagocytic cells. Now these phagocytic cells were first discovered by Metchnikoff in the year 1882. So this is the picture, here is the picture of Metchnikoff. This was discovered by him in 1882. And these phagocytic cells are grouped as microphages and macrophages. And the function of these micro and macrophages is to remove the foreign particles that enter into our body. Now there is a special type of lymphocytes, a special group of lymphocytes which are known as natural killer cells, and they are abbreviated as NK cells. Okay, now these natural killer cells, they are very important in non-specific defense. Now we have already studied about non-specific defense. Non-specific defense is with general infection. That means the phagocytic cells which act or which destroys any kind of general infection. So there is a group of lymphocytes which are natural killer cells, and they are very important in non-specific defense against various viral infections and tumors. So this is about the cellular factors in innate immunity. Next, let us see about the next barrier, that is fever. So yes, fever is also a kind of innate barrier. Fever, it increases the body temperature, we all know. Following the infection is natural defense mechanism. So fever, it increases the body temperature following the infection in a natural defense mechanism. It helps to accelerate the physiological processes by destroying the invading pathogen. So fever, it stimulates the production of interferons. Now interferons, these are interferons. So interferons, they help in recovery from viral infection. Now what are interferons? Interferons are group of signaling protein. Okay, and these signaling proteins, the interferons, which are the group of signaling proteins, are made and released by the host cell in the response to the presence of several infections or several viruses. So a virus infected cell in our body will release these interferons, causing nearby cells to heighten their antiviral activity or antiviral defense. So if you see in this picture over here, this is a virus infected cell in the body, and these virus infected cells are releasing certain or signaling certain proteins they are releasing certain proteins which are signaling proteins, and they are known as interferons. And what are these interferons doing? These interferons which are released, they are causing nearby cells to heighten their antiviral defense. So they are actually signaling the nearby cells to heighten their antiviral defense. Okay, so this is what is done by fever. Next, acute phase protein. This is the next barrier by innate immunity, that is acute phase protein, or the abbreviation is APP. Now acute phase protein, infections or injuries led to a sudden increase in concentration of certain plasma proteins, which is collectively called as acute phase protein. They include C-reactive protein, which is also known as CRP, mannose binding protein, alpha-1 acid glycoprotein, serum amyloid P, etc. And these APP, it is believed to enhance the host resistance power. It prevents tissue injury, and it also promotes repair of inflammatory lesions. Okay, so this is acute phase protein, which is secreted, or which is, there is a sudden increase of this APP from the plasma protein. They are concentrated form of certain plasma protein. So students, this was about the innate immunity comprising of certain types of barriers. Now let us understand and let us study about certain unique features of acquired or adaptive immunity. The first feature that acquired immunity has is specificity. Specificity means that this acquired immunity, it can produce specific antibodies, or you can say T lymphocytes, against a particular antigen and pathogen. So as discussed previously, the acquired or the adaptive immunity, it is specific. So the acquired immunity, it produces specific antibodies against specific antigens. Next is diversity. Diversity is that it can recognize a vast variety of diverse pathogens or foreign molecules, and then it can produce certain antibodies against these pathogens and foreign molecules. Next is discrimination between self and non-self. This also we have discussed previously, that it can differentiate easily between the own body cells and the foreign molecules that is invading in our body. Okay, so this becomes the third unique feature. And the last and the most important unique feature is the memory. So when the immune system encounters a specific foreign agent for the first time, it generates an immune response and eliminates the invader. Okay, so suppose for the first time a certain virus is entering in your body. So what will your body do? The immune system will fight against that virus or that pathogen, and it will keep a memory of that encounter. Okay, so this is the first encounter. Okay, so your body has developed an immune response or has developed the antibodies against that against that virus that has entered your body for the first time, the first encounter. Now as a result of the first encounter, if there is a second encounter with the same pathogen or with the same virus, this time your body will have a quick and a stronger immune response. So why is this quick and stronger immune response for the second time? Because for the first time when it happened, the body has developed a memory. Okay, so because of that memory or because of that antibody that the body has already produced, when there is second encounter, the body response is faster and it is quicker, and with the same and at the same time it is much stronger. That means the body will have the strength to fight with that particular pathogen in a more stronger way. So these are the 4 unique features of adaptive or acquired immunity. So students, we are ending this session over here. In this particular session, we have studied the basics about this chapter, basics about immunity. There are certain definitions and certain terminologies which we have studied, and we have to remember these terminologies. And then we have studied about the barriers of innate immunities and unique features of the acquired immunity. So we end this session over here. In the next session, we'll be moving further with this chapter, where we'll be studying about the types of adaptive and acquired immunity.